At Christmas, my in-laws set a huge table for 24 guests, then told my 7-year-old to eat alone in the kitchen. They tossed her a cheap plastic fork and said, "We can't squeeze everyone in." When I found out, I didn't shout. I did this. 6 hours later, they regretted everything. If motherhood gives you one superpower, it's the ability to spot when your child is lying through a smile. My daughter Lily wasn't smiling when I walked through the door after my shift, but her shoulders had that brittle, "I'm fine, mommy" stiffness kids use when they're barely holding it together. Instant stomach flip, instant dread. My husband, Mark, and Lily were already home. Early, much earlier than they should have been, considering Christmas dinner at my in-laws' place, Linda and Frank's, was supposed to be an all-evening circus. Instead of festive chaos and leftovers, I walked into my living room and found Mark on the couch, staring at the TV with the emotional energy of a boiled potato. Lily curled into the armchair, tiny and silent, like she was trying to make herself invisible. 2 red flags, waving, in stereo. "Hey," I said lightly, like my heart wasn't already speeding. "How was it?" Mark shrugged without taking his eyes off the screen. The classic, "please don't ask me anything" shrug of a man hoping his wife will drop a nuclear topic on her own. Lily whispered, "It was okay." "Nope. Lie number 1. I knelt in front of her. "Did you eat?" A pause. A too long pause. She said, eyes glued to her knees. "Lie number 2. My chest tightened. "Lily," I whispered, "look at me." Her chin trembled. Just once. Like a crack running through glass. "Mommy!" Her voice broke. And then the dam burst. She sobbed so hard she folded into my arms like she'd been holding herself together for hours. Because she had. Her little body shook against my chest. Mark still didn't move. "What happened?" I asked, smoothing her hair. They said there wasn't space for me," she cried. "At the big table." My brain stalled. "What?" "Grandma Linda said they couldn't squeeze everyone in." She hiccuped. "So she told me to sit in the kitchen." The kitchen. The kitchen. My pulse slammed in my ears. "They gave me a plastic fork," she whispered, like the detail itself hurt. "A cheap one. It was dirty at the bottom." Dirty. I closed my eyes for a second because the alternatives were screaming, exploding, finding Linda, and committing an actual felony. "And you sat alone?" I managed. She nodded into my shoulder. "There were 24 chairs," she sobbed. "I counted. There were 3 empty ones." That did it. Something cold and sharp slid into place in my chest. I looked over at Mark. "Is this true?" My voice barely made it out. He froze, then sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. "Julia, I mean, it wasn't like that." "Really?" I said. "You think a 7-year-old would make this up?" "No, but listen, it was awkward, okay? My mom felt strongly about the seating. The table was already set and you left your daughter in the kitchen." He winced. "I didn't leave her. There was no room." 24 chairs, I said. 3 empty. He rubbed his face. "I didn't want to make a scene." "You didn't want to make a scene," I repeated slowly. "So you sat there eating ham while our daughter sat alone with a filthy plastic fork." "She had food," he muttered. "Mark." He shut up. Lily's crying softened into little shivers. I carried her to her room, tucked her under her blankets, kissed her forehead. By the time I came back to the living room, Mark was standing, rubbing his neck like he was the victim here. "I just don't understand why you're so upset," he said. "It's not like they hurt her." Oh, that was interesting. "Not like they hurt her?" I asked, voice sweet in the way sugar burns. "She cried herself breathless, Mark." He opened his mouth, probably to say something catastrophically stupid, and I held up a hand. "No, I'm done listening to excuses." He shut his mouth. I walked past him. "You're being dramatic," he muttered behind me. I stopped, turned slowly. Mark has never seen me angry. Not the quiet kind. Not the kind where your blood becomes metal. "Tell me," I said, "exactly what part of your daughter eating alone in a kitchen qualifies as me being dramatic?" He didn't answer. Of course he didn't. I didn't shout, didn't slam anything, didn't cry. I just sat down at my computer, because when you've spent years biting your tongue, something inside you eventually snaps. Not loudly, not violently, but with the dangerous softness of a trap closing. Mark hovered in the doorway. "Julia, what are you doing?" I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. "I'm fixing it," I said. He shifted, nervous. "What does that mean?" "You'll see." He swallowed. "Julia, don't start anything." I typed anyway. Quiet. Steady. Cold. Sometimes silence is louder than screaming. Hours passed. The house slept. And while Mark lay in bed pretending not to think about what he'd done, I sat in the glow of my laptop, building something he'd never expect. When I finally shut the screen, my hands were steady. My heartbeat was not. Because I knew something he didn't. 6 hours later, they regretted everything. And that was only the beginning. If you'd told me years ago that my biggest adult flaw would be giving people the benefit of the doubt, I probably would have laughed. Dryly. You know, the kind of laugh you make when you think you're kind, but actually you're just letting people walk across your spine in stilettos. Because that's exactly how I ended up married to Mark. I didn't fall in love with some walking red flag. No, I fell in love with the opposite. A man so soft, so gentle, so genuinely kind that it felt like landing in a warm bed after years of sitting on emotional concrete. The only problem? Soft men make great partners, but they make terrible shields against their own families. I learned that the slow way, like boiling alive but only realizing once the water starts bubbling. Mark told me early, very casually, that his parents, Linda and Frank, were intense. Intense turned out to be code for stubborn, guilt-wielding, allergic to boundaries, obsessed with hierarchy, and convinced Tiffany, their daughter, was the second coming of royalty. Meanwhile, Mark? He was the household intern. Every time he told childhood stories, the pattern was obvious. Tiffany got the praise. Tiffany got the attention. Tiffany got the new clothes, the birthday trips, the support, the spotlight. Mark got, well, be grateful for what you have. Honestly, at the beginning, I thought he was exaggerating. Everyone has a dramatic sibling story, right? Then Lily was born. That's when I realized he wasn't exaggerating. He'd actually been pulling his punches. The first time we brought Lily over as a baby, Tiffany swooped in with her 3 children like a flock of pastel-colored birds, loud, shiny, impossible to ignore. Linda and Frank practically levitated with excitement. Oh, look at them! So smart! So talented! Such beautiful manners! Compliment after compliment after compliment, like they were hosting royalty. And then someone would finally glance down at Lily, tiny, perfect, blinking up at them from her car seat, and say, "Oh, and there's Lily too. Two, like she was an afterthought, a footnote, a bonus feature no one asked for." I learned quickly that there were tiers in this family. Tier 1, Tiffany's children, adored, cherished, praised. Tier 2, Tiffany, divine matriarch in training. Tier 3, Mark, reliable background character. Tier 4, Lily, Tolerated accessory. Tier 5. Me. The woman who corrupted Tier 3. Was it subtle? Yes. Was it consistent? Absolutely. Was I in denial about it? For longer than I care to admit. Then the money started. At first, it was small, Mark sending his parents a couple hundred here and there because they're in a tight spot. I didn't love it, but okay. Families help each other. But then it was monthly, a commitment, a duty, according to Linda. They're getting older, Mark would say. If I don't help them, who will? I wanted to say, maybe the daughter they worship like the Virgin Mary? But I didn't. I swallowed it. We were both working good jobs at the time. It felt like a battle not worth fighting. Then Mark lost his job. No warning, just a layoff email and a cardboard box on his desk. Suddenly, the duty became my duty, because guess whose salary started covering the joint account? Guess whose money paid our rent, groceries, insurance? And oh yeah, Linda and Frank's mortgage. Mine. All of it. And still, they treated Lily like someone's neighbor's kid who happened to show up. At Paisley's birthday last year, Linda gave her a $300 art set. She gave Lily a scented eraser. That's more age-appropriate, she'd said. Lily was 6, and Mark, sweet, soft, useless in conflict Mark, never noticed. Or pretended not to. Whenever I pointed something out, he'd give the same tired answer. They mean well. If I had $1 for every time he said that, I could have bought Linda and Frank's house myself and kicked them out. But I kept quiet. I let peace win, or at least I told myself it was peace. Really, it was self-betrayal. Then came the Christmas contribution. Linda made a whole speech in the family group chat about how hosting is expensive and everyone should contribute, and fairness is important. Fairness. Cute. I transferred $80 from the joint account without a fight because I thought Lily would get a magical night with her cousins. Instead, she got a plastic fork in the kitchen. And while I held my daughter sobbing in my arms, it felt like a curtain ripped in my mind. Every ignored instinct, every subtle cruelty, every swallowed comment, they all came back. Hard. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep, I sat alone in the dark living room replaying everything. Paisley's expensive gifts, Lily's eraser, the favoritism, the excuses, the mortgage payments, the joint account, the humiliation, all of it. It wasn't random. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the pattern, the truth I'd been too polite to acknowledge. I felt something cold settle in me, something certain, something final. For years, I stayed quiet. But that night, something broke inside me. And none of them, not Mark, not Linda, not Frank, had any idea what I was about to do. They'd find out soon enough. If you've ever wanted to understand the exact moment a woman stops being nice, watch her stare at her child sleeping after a day like the one Lily had. It was midnight by the time I finally sat down at my computer. Not angry, not hysterical, not dramatic. Just done. Done funding Linda and Frank's lifestyle. Done letting Mark pretend he was helping when every dollar came from me. Done playing the polite daughter-in-law while my child cried herself sick because she wasn't squeezable enough for their Christmas table. So I opened the joint account. Empty. Within seconds. It was my money anyway. Every penny of it. Mark hadn't contributed in months, and the only thing he had contributed to that account was guilt and excuses. Then I moved on to the next step. Cancel. 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 Mortgage support to Linda and Frank? Canceled. Monthly family assistance? Canceled. Their little automatic utilities top-up transfer Mark set up behind my back? Oh, definitely canceled. Then I rerouted all our household bills to my personal account. Groceries, rent, internet, all handled directly by me from now on. The joint account was officially nothing more than an empty box with Mark's name on it. After that, I sent a message to Linda and Frank. A short one. The kind of message that sounds calm until you realize what it really means. Please refund the $40 I paid for Lily's Christmas seat since she wasn't given one. No emojis. No explanation. No softening. Send. Done. By the time I shut the laptop, something in my chest had changed again. The cold certainty sharpening into something almost peaceful. I slept well, which is probably why Mark's panic the next morning felt almost amusing. He burst into the bedroom like he'd discovered our house was on fire. "Julia, what did you do?" he demanded. I blinked at him. "Good morning." "My mom just called," he said, like this was supposed to terrify me. "She said you asked for $40 back." "Oh," I said. "Yes." "Yes?" he sputtered. "Why would you— Julia, that's petty." "Is it?" I said. He ran both hands through his hair like he was preparing to negotiate with a terrorist. "It was one dinner. One. You're blowing this into what exactly?" I asked. "Into standing up for our daughter?" "That's not fair. I told you it was awkward. My mom had the table arranged a certain way, and Lily was the one who paid for it. She wasn't hurt," he snapped. I stared at him. He looked away first. "Julia," he said, quieter now. "Can't we just keep paying them until I get a job? I didn't know you were going to cut everything. My parents need help." "No," I said. "Absolutely not." He gaped at me like I'd spoken in ancient Greek. I stood, walked past him, picked up Lily's cereal bowl, put it in the sink. "Mark," I said calmly, "if you want to keep paying your parents, use your own money." "You know I don't have any," he said. "That is not my problem," I replied. "And I'm done pretending it is." His mouth fell open, closed, opened again. "You're going to bankrupt them," he said, voice cracking. "No," I said. "They bankrupted themselves. I just stopped sponsoring the show." His cheeks flushed. "This is going to cause drama. And Lily sitting alone in the kitchen wasn't drama?" He had no answer to that. He grabbed his jacket, muttered something that sounded like "I need air," and stormed out. Fine. Let him get some air. The oxygen at home was meant for people who protected children, not people who folded like wet cardboard. I was halfway through folding laundry when my phone rang. Group call. From Linda. Frank. Tiffany. Oh, good. The three hyenas, I answered because I wanted them to hear the calm in my voice. Linda started first, obviously. "Julia," she barked. "What is the meaning of this message you sent us?" "Hello to you too," I said. Frank's voice followed, loud and self-righteous. "You're asking for $40 back? For $40? "It's what I paid for Lily's seat at Christmas," I said politely, which she didn't get. "That's ridiculous," Tiffany cut in. "It was just a different table." "In the kitchen," I said. "Oh my God," Linda groaned. "Are we really doing this? She sat in the kitchen for one meal. Kids sit in kitchens all the time." I almost admired the confidence. Almost. "And," Linda continued, "you didn't even come, so you don't get to criticize." "I had to work," I reminded her. "That's what you say," Tiffany shot back. Interesting. So now I was a liar too. Frank huffed. "And anyway, that money wasn't yours to ask for. It came from Mark." "No," I said. "It came from me." Silence. Actual silence. Then, "Oh," Tiffany said, her voice dripping with venom. "So that's why you're acting like you're better than us. Because you make more money. I laughed. I couldn't help it. No, I said. I'm acting like someone whose daughter cried herself to sleep because her own grandparents sent her to eat alone like a stray dog. Linda practically screeched. You are overreacting. You humiliated a 7-year-old, I said. You gave everyone else a holiday dinner and gave her garbage and a plastic fork. Frank snapped. If you're going to be dramatic, maybe it's better if you don't come next year. Oh, I said softly. I won't. The line exploded with overlapping voices, accusations, insults, faux outrage. And then I hung up. I stared at my phone, breathing hard. Not because I was upset, because I was finally, beautifully, absolutely clear. They thought this was about $40. They truly believed I would roll over like Mark, apologize, keep paying, keep feeding their ego and their mortgage and their cozy little fantasy where Lily wasn't real family. They had no idea what I had already put into motion, no idea what the next few days would bring. But they would, soon, very soon. And when it finally hit them, they would regret a lot more than $40. If the night after Christmas was the moment something snapped inside me, then the day after was when the world snapped back. I woke up to 3 missed calls, 9 texts, and a fresh hell in the family group chats. Not my family, of course. Mark's. Linda had transformed the chat into a public relations war zone. Linda. Some people can't handle one holiday without making drama. Frank. We all know who was petty enough to demand $40. Embarrassing. Tiffany. Not surprised Julia ruined Christmas. She didn't even show up. I hadn't shown up because I worked. But sure. Let's rewrite history. Someone's cousin chimed in with a vague, wait, what happened? And that was all it took for Linda to unleash a novella. Apparently, I'm unstable, dramatic, jealous of Tiffany, disrespectful to the elders, and trying to paint the family as abusers because Lily sat on an auxiliary table. Auxiliary. They upgraded the kitchen to the Pentagon. Mark scrolled through the messages in dead silence, his eyes dull. He didn't defend me. He didn't defend Lily. He didn't do anything. And that hurt more than I expected. I didn't trust myself to speak, because the words I wanted to say were nuclear, and I didn't want Lily waking up to emotional shrapnel. So I did the one thing I do when I'm trying not to scream. I cleaned. I cleaned like I was trying to erase the entire house from existence. The kitchen, the hallway, the bathroom. I scrubbed the baseboards with a level of rage usually reserved for true crime documentaries. Eventually, my rage vacuum carried me into Mark's office. His office was a disaster zone. Papers everywhere, receipts balled up like confetti, old coffee cups that could have birthed new civilizations. I wasn't cleaning for him. God, no. I was cleaning because I needed something to focus on that wasn't smashing my phone. I started sorting the stacks of papers on his desk, muttering to myself like a feral raccoon. Maybe if he cleaned this room, he could find a job. Shuffle. Maybe if he had a functioning filing system, he'd have a spine. Shuffle. Maybe if his mother didn't own his... And then I froze. A thick, official envelope slid out from between 2 piles. The top corner read, County Property Records. My stomach dropped. I opened it. And that's when my world tilted sideways. It was a property deed. Mark's name was on it. And the address? The address was Tiffany's house. The house Tiffany lived in with her 3 children. The house Mark had always referred to as Tiffany's place. The house I had been in dozens of times without ever realizing it belonged to him. Well, to us. He inherited it after we married. Legally, that means half of it is mine. And he never told me. Not once. He just let Tiffany move in. Let her live there rent-free. Let her raise her kids there while we scraped to support his parents. Let her call it her house. I stared at his signature on the document so long the ink began to blur. When Mark finally came home, he hesitated in the doorway like he sensed the atmosphere had changed. "Julia," he said cautiously. I held up the deed. His face drained of color. He didn't even bother pretending. "I didn't hide it," he said too quickly. "Really?" I asked. "What would you call this?" He rubbed his forehead. "Julia, listen. Tiffany has kids. She needed a place. My parents pressured me. It didn't feel right to take it from her." "Mark," I said, "you didn't take anything. It's your house." "Well, yeah, technically, not technically, legally, and half of it belongs to me because we were married when you got it." He winced. "You let your sister live in our property for free, and you let me pay your parents' mortgage, and you let me think we were struggling." He didn't answer. I didn't expect him to. We still took Lily out that afternoon. We'd promised her ice cream and the little indoor playground she loves, and I wasn't going to break a promise because of my crumbling marriage. We sat together at a booth, the three of us, pretending to be a normal family. Except Lily's trauma seeped through everything. "Is it okay if I sit here?" she whispered. "Can I eat this? Am I allowed to go play? Is it okay if I stay with you?" Every question was a stab. Mark watched her quietly, hands folded in his lap, eyes dim. It wasn't until he stepped away to order our food that the dam broke again, this time much softer. "Mom?" Lily whispered. "Yeah, baby. Does Daddy like me?" My heart cracked. "What makes you ask that?" I said, forcing my voice steady. She stared at the table. "Because he didn't stand up for me. He sat with everyone else, and I thought—" Her lips trembled. "I thought if he loved me, he'd tell them no." I hugged her, tight. "Your daddy loves you," I whispered. "He just didn't know how to be brave." She nodded, trying to believe it. Then I saw Mark standing a few feet away, holding our food tray, his face pale and hollow. He'd heard every word. That night, after Lily fell asleep, he came into the living room. He stood there awkwardly, like a man preparing for surgery without anesthesia. "You were right," he said quietly. I didn't respond. "I didn't understand how much I hurt her." His voice shook. "Or you." Still, I said nothing. He sat down. "My parents did the same thing to me when I was a kid," he said. "I used to sit at the kids' table by myself. Tiffany always got the good seat, the good food, the attention. I guess I thought that's just how families are." I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't making excuses anymore. He was remembering. He swallowed hard. "I don't want Lily to grow up like I did, and I don't want you carrying everything because I'm scared to make waves." A long silence. Then, "Let's get the house back," he said. "And I'll pay you back every cent. And I'm done with them, Julia. I mean it." For the first time in weeks, something in me unclenched. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. Or maybe it was the moment the old thing finally cracked open enough to fix. Either way, the war with the in-laws wasn't over. It was just entering phase 2. And the next move? It wouldn't be theirs. It would be mine. 6 months later, I still have moments where I open my eyes in the morning and brace for impact. A text from Linda, a voicemail from Frank, a guilt trip from Tiffany. My nervous system was trained for war. But there's only silence now. Real silence. The kind that feels like oxygen after years of breathing smoke. The house Tiffany lived in? It's ours now. And yes, getting it back was every bit as ugly as you'd imagine. I stood in the hallway while Mark told his family the truth. He was reclaiming the property. Their screams carried through the phone like a stadium crowd losing a championship game. Tiffany cried so loudly I'm pretty sure the windows considered cracking out of self-defense. Linda accused us of destroying her daughter's future. Frank shouted something about betraying the family legacy, which was hilarious considering the only legacy he ever built was emotional dysfunction. And Mark? He didn't fold. He told me later that the thing that did it, the thing that kept him standing while his whole family tried to drag him back down, was Lily's voice in his head. Does Daddy love me? That one sentence grew him a backbone faster than any therapist could have. Tiffany moved out eventually. We rent the house now, and the money goes straight into Lily's savings. A poetic full-circle moment that I enjoy more than I should. As for Linda and Frank, no contact. Clean cut. They vanished the moment their ATM shut down. Sometimes distant relatives try to wade in, waving their neutrality flags. They ask what really happened. I tell them, a 7-year-old girl was forced to eat alone in a kitchen on Christmas because her grandparents didn't want her at the table. That usually ends the conversation. A few mutter that they don't want to get involved, which is funny because they already were, just not on our side. But the truth? I don't care. My family isn't a committee project. Mark has a steady job now. He comes home tired, not defeated, and every cent he earns goes into our home, our life, our daughter, not into Tiffany's lifestyle or his parents' mortgage. And Lily? She doesn't tiptoe anymore. She doesn't ask if she's allowed to sit somewhere. She doesn't wonder if her father loves her. She knows. For the first time, our home feels like ours, not an emotional extension of Linda and Frank's house. So tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.